Welcome back to Wet Graves. I'm so excited to share with you how I made my bed today. I like a good fitted sheet. I also love a great comforter.
Psych! We're going to be making a bed frame.
You'll need 12 2x6s, 2 2x4s, 2 plywood sheets, a power drill, a jigsaw, and a bunch of 3-inch screws. I like to start any project by eating a healthy snack. Today I had champagne grapes. In addition to this, you will need work-appropriate shoes, a level cutting area, a straight edge, a measuring tape, and always cut away from your body and watch out for your fingers when you may have to disregard the previous suggestion. Now I've measured and cut 6 of the 2x6s to the length of my queen-size bed, which is 96 inches long. At 1.5 inches, draw a line perpendicular to the edge of the wood across. A good way to do this is to make a mark on each edge of the wood with a measuring tape and then connect the marks with your straight edge. I'll use that same technique to draw 2 lines parallel to the length of the wood at 1.5 inches and 4.5 inches. It's normally ultra important to get these lines perfect, but ultimately, the jigsaw is not a precise tool, and at the end of the day, these are just guidelines and wood is finicky. If heaven forbid you try this project, you'll see what I mean. I fill in the area outside of my lines just to keep track of what part I am removing with the saw. And when you're sawing, always remember to err on the side of less that you take away, as you can always shave off more with the saw or a sander later. But it's hard to make gorilla grip wood joinery with loose bits. Flip the plank and cut away the same parts on the opposite side. Repeat the same process on the ends of 6 of your 96-inch planks. You may have noticed the finished joint in the foreground. If you did, good for you. If you didn't, I'm going to show you what makes the second half of this joint so much harder to produce. After cutting 6 planks down to the height you wish the bed to be, mine was 3 feet, draw the same lines as you did on the first piece of wood. I then cut down each of those lines, and then the goal is to empty out the area in between them. It's hard to describe the technique, but it feels like cutting out a curvy triangle and then it's leftovers. It never really works how you hope it will on the first or even 100th time, but as long as you don't cut away too much, you'll be able to adjust and straighten your woodwork as you go. Truth of the matter is, I think these frames could be made in almost any size for any number of applications. Some really noisy ones that opt into my brain are even taller bed, bench, outdoor storage, couch, human-sized blocks to recreate the blockhouse that we used to have at my kindergarten. Please comment if you dare me to recreate said magical wonderland. Once you've cut 12 of each of these joint pieces, you're going to need to match them up with the respective planks which have the best fit. With some matchmaking, you should be able to put together 3 very large rectangles which should be connected with screws. If you trust yourself to create joints that can be held together with nothing but friction and glue power, power to you. But mine were quite a bit wonky, so 6 3-inch screws were used at each joint. At the center of each rectangle, I braced the frame with a plank of wood cut flat on each end to the exact height of the space between each long plank. 2 screws on each side seems to be doing the trick for me. I had difficulty getting one of my screws to go in and therefore out. These are some hacks I tried, but at the end of the day, I just princess and the P'd it. To save money on lumber, I decided to repurpose the slats from my old bed frame. Bed frame slats are easy to find on Craigslist and on the street, but if your city is infested with bed bugs like mine, it might not be worth it unless you can confirm it's from a home without bed bugs. I used toggle bolts to attach the 3 frames to the wall, measuring out the width of the bed and centering the one in the middle. These toggle bolts have saved me from that ever-flowing bed away from the wall problem, which we all seem to suffer from. I cut my 2x4s to the width of the frame and attached one at the top and one at the bottom of the foot of the bed frame. The thought was this should help stabilize the frame as well as act as a surface for me to attach the plywood. I stapled the Velcro from the old bed frame along the edge, but in hindsight that didn't really work, and I ended up nailing down a decent number of the boards in addition to the Velcro per my husband's request. He even tried to help a little bit too, and for reasons pictured above, I think we can assume you won't be seeing him doing woodworking on this channel very often. And bam! That's basically a bed. I would definitely still add the plywood or some kind of cladding in the end to add tensile strength, if I'm using that word correctly. The surface area I chose to cover with plywood needed just a little more than 1 sheet, but I went in on the second sheet to build a cat litter cover, which is working out very nicely. I worked out a hinge and door situation, but I really don't feel like doing a whole tutorial on this. But obviously, if you don't leave some kind of opening, the whole point of this project is wasted. With that, it's time for the grand reveal. So this isn't much of a grand reveal. Beds aren't really that exciting. The best beds have their value in the use. This bed is now the storage container for most of our belongings that we don't use on a regular basis. It's enough for two people's things. Eased a lot of the cluttering in the apartment since we have gone into the use of it. Coolest thing about this bed is that I made it using only this power drill and this jigsaw. This jigsaw was $30 and this drill I think was a little bit more. I didn't buy it. It's decent. Just with these two tools at my disposal, I was limited to techniques that I could pull off with the cutting depth of this jigsaw and the power of this drill. Oh, hi there. I got the wood for this project delivered from Home Depot, as that was the only option in my region at the moment. One could do this probably for cheaper depending on how you source your wood. Things like 2x4s and 2x6s are often easy to find discarded from other people's projects. Keep an eye on Craigslist or Facebook Marketplace, which is how I've done it before. Although this time and the wood altogether came to about $200, which is to say I didn't need to get this grade of plywood, but I made that decision because I wanted to stain it and have a nice wood effect. But if you use like pressboard, you could get the same tensile, strength, but not the same cost. So that was a splurge. I think that the 2x6s were the best. I don't know if I would have made the entire frame of this out of 2x4s. I think that it might possibly work. You might want to do more frames if you're going to do it that way, but the 2x6s, it feels excellent, sturdy. I'll show off its strength. So I can't think of anything that this bed couldn't do. It's on my list of top beds of all time. This is number one by a long shot. Just the benefits. All right, go make your bed.